I'm going to look at another motherboard here. I have my microscope in a rather compromising position because I recently put shrink wrap around it. It was starting to fray right as it connected. So it's more that I'm just making sure, testing that my microscope still works and I didn't break it. Because taking it apart actually wasn't that bad. Putting it back together also really wasn't that bad. It was just that I think the main problem that I had is some of the plastics kind of crumbled into pieces, as well as the main sensor for the microscope was just soldered right onto the motherboard. So when I popped the motherboard out, the sensor was exposed to air, and well, that just invites dust and other crap to get in between the lens of the microscope and the actual sensor itself. So, I think I got them all. I think I got as many bits cleared out that I don't see it on my feed anymore, but this is sort of my means of testing it in sort of a practical sense instead of me just looking at stuff. Okay, so this one needed a charge port. I'll wait on that. This is the one that's been kind of interesting. No charge light, so... Ooh, that game card slot's looking a little rough. Water damage indicator is gone. It's not water damage per se, but I don't know, just something like maybe a little bit of water got in and just started rusting away the game card slot. It's a little hard to say. I think this was the power board I replaced the positive and the negatives on, so I guess that's a good means of testing that. That wasn't an exactly complex repair, so I don't... It's not like I made a boo-boo and it's not going to work. I guess this probably isn't the best console to be testing that on, but I have faith. So let's not put in the battery first. Let's just get it plugged in and see what it does. Should do nothing, but I have my USB tester right there. Nothing. Now, if I remember this console, I think I did check the fuse, and the fuse is good. I'll, of course, check it again. Just sort of moving it around to see if I can get that light to come on at all. I'm getting nothing. Okay, so let's plug in the battery and just see if the console pulls a charge. Nothing. And I just try and manipulate it here. Still getting nothing. Okay. Now the orange charge light is determined by component U11. That's where the line comes out of. Almost thinking I should maybe make sure that this power board is good before I do anything too crazy. Just to make sure that I'm not crazy. So let me take my good board. Or I don't want that to be the fault, and then me checking this motherboard for that fault only to find out that, oh, it's just this battery daughter board. Power board, or whatever unofficial name I like to give it. I'm just gonna plug it in, just see if the charge light flashes. It does. So yeah, this power daughter board is good. Put that over here. So let me get my microscope on. I know the little camera icon on the top is a little off center, but see, it should be connected. Deactivate, inactivate. There we go. Now, this definitely had some type of liquid on it, especially around that capacitor. Those resistor arrays looking a little rough. Yeah, this is all kind of looking rough. Just everything's a little dull and grimy. Sort of, that component's kind of weirdly off center. So I'm most interested in the charge circuit. U11 itself looks fine. It is possible that this via is bad. Let me check the other side. That wouldn't stop an orange light. And that actually looks really good. So let me start doing continuity tests. At least for the charge circuit itself. I don't know if it needs the orange light to actually charge, but if component U11 is faulty, it might not push a charge to the battery. So let me sort of shift everything over a little. So there's U11. I should get continuity from the battery positive all the way up. Well, you know what? I never checked the fuse. Go from the positive leg. And that's the interesting part. I'm getting continuity through that fuse, so I know it's good. So let me check. And I am getting continuity from the battery plus up to U11. So it's... what's that right there? Right here, it's kind of like the solder mask was scraped away. That might even be my whole problem. That's very strange. What component is that? R2? I need to look at a schematic, see where R2 goes. Because I need to know whether that trace line was damaged. I'm not going to try and find the via on the other side. Let me see, grab the... there we go. Okay, so I'm looking for R2 right off component U11. U11, U11, U11. I feel like I looked at it so much I should know where it is. Here it is. Component R2. Oh, look at that. It's the orange line. That wouldn't stop it from charging, though. So if this goes to power connector 2, I should be able to get the orange. I should have continuity all the way from the R2 through to the actual orange LED. What I can do instead is just kind of... this might be a little difficult, actually. I don't think an orange light would really matter. I gotta remember which one it was. I think it's that middle one. So I gotta get from the top of that resistor to, I guess, the bottom side of that LED. See if there's continuity through it. Or all the way to it. And there is, okay. I wasn't really worried about that because I think the orange LED is just that. It's just an indicator. If it's a resistor, really hard to get probes on these tiny little things. .3 kilo ohms. That might be fine. Let me check ground on the U11 chip. So only pin 4 should be going to ground. It's right there. No other pin shorting the ground. The one that is shorting the ground is supposed to short the ground. So something I haven't done before, and it's definitely going to take a little bit of trial and error, is actually track the voltage from the power, from the charger all the way to U11. So let me do that. I'll have my good board on standby. But the charge isn't going through, so it just kind of stops. Stopping somewhere. But I should be able to detect it. Got my charger plugged in, and it's still not pulling anything. I'm just going to go against ground. I think that's just going to be the easiest. My ground on my game card slot isn't that great, because it's all kind of eaten away. Oh, I'm on diode. I'm like, I should be seeing something. And I'm also on resistance. There we go. No, I need DC. Not getting a good ground. Getting like 1 volt. I wonder if that's like a standby. No, I'm getting nothing. Can I even track voltage when it's not actively pulling? No, let me pull that off. So I'm almost just curious, maybe it could be as easy as just like a broken solder joint or something. Am I supposed to have continuity? I guess I can just track down the charge port. Goes to EM1 to capacitor 510. or 510, C100, which I'm guessing was the one I just probed. From C100, it goes into whatever that structure is, as well as resistor 4, before going into U15. Resistor 4 is right there. Resistor 4, not 14, so it should be right here. Wait, what? Aren't I getting anything? Is that the wrong side? Why would it go around? If these two are connected, it should just be a solid trace across. Okay, let me check my good board. Yeah, you can even see it kind of glistening. It's a straight across connection. Okay. Possible that there's just like crud on the top of it. Let me see if I can sort of scrape away the top of that resistor. Ooh, now we're talking. Okay, that should be good connection. There we go. Okay, I am getting connection across through that resistor. It kind of looks weird right there, but I think that just might be the bottom of the solder joint. So from resistor 4 to pin 4 of U15. Pin 4. I'm guessing it's probably this one. If not, it'll just be one of these. And scrape off the top again. Not entirely sure what type of component this is. Maybe I can see if there's a data sheet on this. The person who put together the schematic found as many data sheets as they could for these various components. That's pin 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sanity check my good board. Oh, pin 1. I'm so stupid. Okay. I don't know how I read that schematic sitting right in front of me wrong. Pin 1, it should be this guy right here. Well, since this thing's in front of me, pin 1 is ground. It's not ground. So both pin 4 reset ground. This is a interesting, because by this logic, there's nothing impeding pin 1 to the charge port positive of, I can check U11 to the pin, to the positive trace. Oh, no, why am I reading this so wrong? Okay, none of this really feeds into the positive, or really feeds into U11. Well, kinda, after it goes through this array of components. And that comes from pin 1. Well, pin 1 goes into it once it goes through this capacitor. I feel like pin 2 is going to have the most important sort of. But it looks like what I think is pin 2. Just goes back into EM1. That doesn't make any sense, so it shouldn't. How does it feed back into EM1? Could it be that that is the ground? Diode. 10 kilo ohms. There should be 1, 2, 3, 4. No, pin 1 does go. So pin 3? So if pin 1 comes in through this resistor right here, basically no resistance. What is the resistance between it and pin 4? Sort of the resistance through this component. Not getting anything. What about pin 2? Pin 2 is 8 mega ohms. Nothing. Continuity. There's less resistance to U15. Huh. There is a diode, D1. It's probably this guy right here. Check and see if it chirps. I'm not sure what I'm going to gain from a diode test, I think, other than the fact that it's working. I'm probably going to have to scrape away the little bit of crap on the solder joints again. Because if this diode is just completely blown apart, sort of a fancy fuse, really. No, I'm getting something. 0.6 volts. See if I can concur that reading. Yeah, about the same. Okay, that diode's probably good then. So other than that resistance reading being different on U15, I'm not really finding anything too crazy here. So once it gets through this, like, structure. I'm not really sure what that is. I don't know if that's what Q1 is supposed to signify. Perhaps. I don't know if that's like a... That might just be a bit of the solder mask. It kind of looks like a crack. Not the easiest way to try and probe this. Yeah, there should be no resistance. $560. It's quite a big difference. Well, immediately, like these, like unless I'm crazy, these components are completely different. Are there 3 legs on this pin? Like, let me look through it through an eye loop. Wherever I put it, here it is. It looks like that this one only has 5 pins on this leg, or on this chip. I may have found my problem. I think that chip leg's eroded away. That one right there. That middle leg. I don't know what the hell's in there. It might behoove me to sort of melt all that solder to see just kind of what it looks like and just try and get that crap out of there. I think that might be my whole problem. If that leg is completely gone, from what I can see, I'm not like 100% certain, but I'm wildly certain that something's wrong. If I can melt this, let me try and look at it again. If I can melt the solder and just kind of get all that crap sort of liquefied and out of there, I think that middle leg is just completely eroded away. It's hard to tell though, it's got that crap on it. But that's my first real clue that something's wrong, other than all those resistance readings being like completely off. Which I'm not necessarily able to comment on, just sort of, it's different, but I'll just sort of take it as different for now. Let's see if I can get it in the, not U11 this time, it's this Q1, whatever Q1 is. Ooh, I need to go at a sharper angle so I don't smack it with my microscope. And I'm just going to come in from the top. It's a small component. Uh, 300 degrees should be enough, hopefully. Guess we'll find out. I don't think I'm going to move it. I just want to get that solder liquefied. Just to see if warming up the flux will help bubble away whatever that crap is. Maybe I can at least like poke it. Actually, it would be better if I can take it off so I can clean under it. Because that crap just isn't gonna vanish. We're up to a 350. Oh, so close. Wow, that does not look good. Take a look. Yeah, something just got under there and it's just... Ugh. Well, good news is the legs were still there. I don't know about those pads though. So this may not have been the problem, but it definitely wasn't good. I'm gonna have to look back on my VOD to see how this thing was put on. I sort of jumped around on my paper towel a little when I was looking at it. Easy problem to fix. Yeah, it doesn't look great. Trying to liquefy the solder. Maybe not at this angle, but... Need another angle. I mean, it all still looks there. Nothing is corroded away. Definitely not great. I can check the trace lines from these pads. See if they're continuous between everything they're supposed to connect to. What really worries me is sort of the top of that resistor, just how there's just bare trace there, and just to make sure that there's like those pads are actually connected. So where do these traces go? The pin 1 of U11. Oh, okay. So do all of these pads connect to this via? All 4 of those pads connect to U11. Does this one connect to that resistor? Yes, it does. Does this one connect to this via? Yes, it does. I think I already checked this resistor, but it is connected. Maybe that was benign. I didn't need to do that, but it didn't look good. So let me check how that chip was oriented. The lettering was sort of... Yeah, okay, I can kind of figure it out from this angle. Let's just see what the chip looks like. I did see all the legs on there. And it's possible it was fine. Like... It really did not look good, though. Sticky little bugger. Should probably try and clean the other underside of it. I'm guessing it went like this. So let me clean it off so I can see the markings. I suppose that's a lot easier said than done. Still got kind of that crap under there, but it should be fine as long as it connects. I don't really have a good means of like scraping that off. I still really can't read the top of it. Kind of make out the letter B right there. Oh, I don't want to bend the legs on accident. Oh, zoom and enhance. 1, 2, I think. Looks like a B right there, ornate. Okay, let me check my feed, my old video. Okay, just judging by where that like letter B is, should be oriented. Look at that. Just double check. Yep. Oh, great. Triple check. B or 8. Okay, so now what I want to do is I'll learn from my mistake and just touch a tiny bit of flux on all of those pins. Not goober it on. I only ever want to scorch a hole in a motherboard once. Looks pretty good. No pick and place machine. If I'm gonna heat it up from the bottom, then I need to sort of reorient here. And a little bugger. Okay, I think that may have done it. I'm not sure about the back pins, but the pins facing me are definitely reflowed. Zoom and enhance. Maybe it kind of looks like it. I can check those pins against my common point that I figured out they all short to that one via. I'm going to make the very bold assumption that that probably didn't do anything. But it looked really bad. I thought for sure that pin was gone, but it was just sort of caked up with whatever crap was there. But it was an easy take off and put back on, so what we need to do is go kind of to the top of the pin. This board is still a little warm. What was it, this via? Not connected on this pin. It might be crap on the pin. Because I couldn't really clean off this component without risking of like flicking it somewhere. Let's see if I can just like scrape off the very tip of the pin. Just enough to kind of rough it up a little. Okay. And then this pin goes up to this resistor or capacitor. I don't remember which one it is. Might be the same problem. Okay, we're good. I'm going to clean off that area now that the board is cooled down a little more. Like I said, I really doubt that did anything, but I feel it was benign enough that I know it won't make it worse. But it did not look good. I could have probably checked continuity, but I didn't really know how the pins underneath that structure worked. The schematics and how I'm interpreting them are just not helpful. Like what pins go to where. Kind of wave it off screen to try and dry it off. Air puff the well, one thing's for certain, that component looks a lot better. It doesn't got that like white stuff caked on it, and you can actually see all three of the pins. So let's plug a charger in it and just see, maybe it was just that, maybe just corrosion or crap just ate away those pins. Ah. So that must have been it. Either that or just reflowing all of those components in that area as just sort of a consequence of using hot air. I'm thinking it was that component. That was a lot of crap there. So I get an orange flashing light. So let's see. I got a battery plugged in. My little USB tester is kind of off screen here. There it is. A little off to the side, but amp draw. So this one is good again. So yeah, it was just whatever that was, corrosion, gunk, food, doesn't matter really what it was. It was just built up on that pin. I don't know. Again, it may not just be that component. It could have just been surrounding components. Maybe there was a cold solder joint on one of those components that just in the process of reflowing. And maybe really all I needed to do was reflow, but I'm going to take that as a victory. So let me grab my... I do want to... Okay, one thing at a time here. I'm going to grab the data that I have on this console, or open up my little Word document that I have on this console, just to see kind of if I have additional notes aside from just no power light. DSi XL Motherboards USA needs repair. This is in my USA pile, so I hope it's American. That's my serial number. 23X. This one right here. Let's pop it over into my good pile. Let's see what I got. We'll even open that window up. No charge light. Oh, great. I'll attach tester components to it and see what condition it is. I'll just do no known issues. Repaired. No charge light. Component Q1. Had gunk on the pins. Removed. Cleaned. Reattached. With hot air. That may have been the issue. Or any broken solder joints of nearby components as hot air liquefied all of them. Fantastic. So let me close this. I don't need the schematic anymore. And I don't necessarily need my microscope right now. So let's get tester components on it. I really need to get them. I might not have a touch screen or a bottom screen with a touch screen that works. It's a bit unfortunate. I think I already tested all these and they're all in sort of a state of... Oh well. It'll just be I'll have to wipe these when I actually start assembling them for sale. This one should make it pretty far, other than the game card slot, the shielding around it looking kind of rough. The pins themselves look fine. Look really good. And I don't notice any sort of damage on the motherboard. Like, other than that sort of like localized crap, it all looks fine otherwise. Like, yeah, there's sort of buildup of stuff, but nothing a good brushing of rubbing alcohol can't fix. I'll plug in the touchscreen. I don't think, like I said, I don't think I'm going to get a touchscreen out of this. But I would have noted if it didn't turn on, so... Let's see what happens. Ah! I kind of need the Wi-Fi board. That little Wi-Fi board has the BIOS on it. Can't exactly turn the thing on without a BIOS. There we go. Alright, Ariana. Oh wow, they had a lot of applications on this thing. Neat. Opens up. Ooh, cool. This touchscreen still works. Alright, I'll format it. It was 1.4.3 U. The firmware revision on it. I just like noting that. I don't really think it matters anymore. Like, unless there's some like crazy modders looking for very specific firmware revisions. That formatted very quickly. Very good. I am noticing the bottom screen's flickering. That's a very hard problem to try and catch. That might just be because these screens are a tester screen. One of the theories I've been trying to kick around is maybe the potentiometer is... Why did it do that? I may have moved to the bottom screen and it shorted. Hello? Well, I'm very positive that wasn't the motherboard, so this might be just a screen issue. Curious. I noticed that when I've been doing these sort of tests, that if I shift around the bottom screen, it will go out, which shouldn't. Like, pretty sure the back of the touchscreen should be insulated because this is how it would sit in the console otherwise. It sits with the back of the touchscreen against the motherboard. I'm just gonna unplug and replug the touchscreen. I don't know why I think that would be the issue on a no boot, but I don't think let me just unplug the top screen, see if it does anything. Now, let me go for a blue light. So let me unplug the back light for the bottom screen. Still nothing, okay. I'm going for bare minimum life check. That is all the markings of a blown fuse. Go from test point 7 to positive. No, it's still good. Very close to resembling a console I was trying to help a guy diagnose. Oh, I didn't do a good bare minimum life check because the Wi-Fi board was still in. I'm getting nothing. Again. I am connected to the battery. I'm especially interested in this. So let me just unplug the power board. And then just plug it back in. Just all the way out, all the way back in. I'm definitely manhandling it a lot more than what that one guy would do, because I don't think he ever opened it. So that's a lot more manhandling than what it would expect inside a console. Why aren't I getting anything? Oh, there we go. Kinda. It just kind of went out again. Okay. Weird. Let's try and put it together again. I don't necessarily want to blame the power button, but I don't really know how to really rationalize what I just witnessed. So not to say I'll ignore it, I'll just sort of see if it gets any worse. I can check the power button. I really don't think it's that. This is always kind of a pain. Oh. Yeah, the button works. As I expected. It was trying to boot on me when I was... The back screen isn't compromised, so it's not it shouldn't be shorting against the rear. Or the bottom, or the motherboard. I'm not exactly sure what to make of this. I wonder if the ribbon cable might be a little... Can't say compromised, but... Because if the ribbon cable... Because just the way it was sort of turning on and then off, almost like it's shorting the power button more than it should, or maybe it loses connection. Nothing I worked on impacts the circuit for the power. That was all charging. possible I may have damaged this tester ribbon cable. That's kind of my only theory right now. So I have another one. Because a lot of my tester components are they get stressed out from how many times I have to unplug them and replug them. They're not really designed to do that. They are designed to come out, which is really nice. Nintendo didn't make this difficult. I'll bet this will do nothing, but it was worth a shot. Check the battery voltage. .9. And it still charges, yeah? Yep. What could the cause be? Try bare minimum life check again. This is very, like, reminiscent of that issue I saw on Reddit. However, even on a bare minimum, this is definitely a lot bigger project than I expected to do here. I might have to put this one off. I did notice when just kind of looking through the board, there is sort of crap around the power management chip. That capacitor looks a little strange, how it has that little shiny part. But like if there's any more crap like there was like against that one chip. Pretty sure that resistor wasn't populated. Oh, it's a capacitor. Yeah, that's not a populated spot. I suppose what I can do is just brush it with some rubbing alcohol. Kind of like what I said I was going to do, just to clean it up. See if any problems reveal themselves or if this fixes anything. I would say this is benign, but what I would do is erase evidence. That resistor array is starting to look a lot better, actually. That's the pot for the bottom screen. I think I might be onto something about that being cause of the flickering. Doesn't look good inside of it. It looks almost rusted. So if that resistor is kicking out weird readings, or it's not holding a steady resistance value, it could be sending like really like micro surges to the bottom screen. Something to think about. Because it's weird. It is a 50-50% chance, I suppose. But it's odd that I saw flickering on the bottom screen and that bottom screen potentiometer not looking good. That capacitor? Is that a big fat resistor? Doesn't look good. Is there even an end cap on this thing? Maybe? Oh, with my naked eye I can see it. Okay, now it's starting to scratch away. I'm gonna trace that really quick. Might be fine. It goes to this leg. Yeah, let's trace into it just fine. In circuit, it's has no resistance. 1 ohm. Kind of a shitty resistor if it ain't resisting. There's what it's supposed to look like. It's a big feller. Oh, I guess that's normal. This must not be a resistor then. That's 2 ohms. This dried a little, so let me go ahead and try it again. It might just work. It's below the resistor. Oh, it's just a little capacitor, okay. Yeah, resistor definitely doesn't look good. I know I scratched at it with a razor blade, but like... I could almost just do a reflow pass on all of them. That seemed to work. Alright, so another bare minimum life check. Oh no, not my little cap of... Still nothing. Something must have just blew. Like, that's really my only conclusion I can draw. So then... what would it be? Well, the only thing I can really do is just start testing. So much for this board being done. Some of these capacitors just seem rough looking. I don't even know if this thing's a capacitor. Kind of like the same as the other components up there, just this like crap in between them. Especially this chip. Like almost a broad sweep reflow of some of these components is probably what's needed. Especially the main power management chip. Like if... It's just weird it worked and then it stopped. But if a reflow worked once, I mean, why not a second time? I can just do a very non-indiscriminate reflow. I'm going to focus on that little chip I saw that had the crap on it. But I'll kind of wet everything around it, really. I do want to get the power management chip. Make sure that's all nice and goobered. I think there was a ground pad underneath it, so that's going to be kind of a pain to reflow. I'm going to have to get it from the bottom, definitely. It almost looks like pieces of copper poking out, but those are just reflections from the... or off the flux. I'm definitely not far enough over. Definitely want to watch that chip. Should have probably took the nozzle off of my air gun. There, I got it, the jiggle. So now everything should be reflown. It doesn't really tell me what the problem was. But I would say that's a fairly benign procedure. And burn anything, or probably not. Hopefully those pins in there are good. Doesn't look good from here. Hey, look at that. There's no hole in the board. Sweet. I also don't have it as hot. Let it cool down a little. The component looks a little better. So I think the only real conclusion that I can draw is that whatever crap was around some of these components just, I don't know if it ate away the solder joints enough to just break them, and then maybe just the flow of electricity going through some of these components just like popped the connection almost like it was a fuse. Sort of a very baseless guess. But if there was like a little bit of solder just holding on to a leg, maybe it was just enough power to boot, but as power was going through it, it just couldn't hold power forever, and maybe just the power going through it created heat and blew the fuse. Or blew it like a fuse, like if there was just like a tiny bit of just hanging on by a literal thread. I'm really curious about the pins in that chip. They look there. I think it's just that crud. All that crud. I was hoping that I could try and get rid of it by brushing at it, but I know I don't think my toothbrush is fine enough to get in those. You can hear a dentist yelling at me that I should be flossing. These aren't teeth. I'm not using toothpaste. Yeah, looks fine. I don't think it's, if it was anything, if it would be the power management chip. It just seems a little too... And I suppose I definitely could, like, get to the bottom of it by just randomly voltage testing, but again, I figure this is kind of a benign means of just let's go reflow. Because if one of these components needed to be reflown, and you did it with hot air, you would just end up reflowing everything around it anyway. Like, unless you're really that crazy with a solder iron and can get in and just resolder one of these tiny components. That red flash because I moved it? No. Okay, well, suppose I can just try that, see if it does anything. Maybe that's all that was needed. Still nothing. That's really weird. Fuse is fine. My connection, the test point 7, not really. Take the battery out. Oh, my angle's weird, okay. Ew. Yeah, my connection to test point 7 wasn't really good. I don't know why. If I go from the positive on my battery, test point 7, it should be continuous. I wasn't really getting anything. It's just strange. I'm getting nothing. What's going on? Let me check my battery connector to TP11 or to U11. Oh. Well, there's my problem. Plug the damn thing in all the way. Well, gee willikers. That's better. Let me check continuity again just to make sure it is plugged in. Okay, that's better. That was weird. So, that's just me being dumb. Voila, blue light again. Okay. Let me put it together. So I can't really say what happened. I actually have no clue. The only thing I can really think of is since corrosion or something ate away the Q1 chip, keeping it from charging, stands the reason that a component around the power management chip also suffered the same fate. Why it sort of was fine up until it wasn't, that I can't really explain. The only really theory is like maybe one of those solder legs was just holding on by a thread and behaved almost like a fuse in a sense, where it turned on once, worked fine, but then when I went to surge it, or maybe a surge of power went through as it was resetting and then just popped that leg like a fuse almost. Ooh, and it's doing it again. Oh? Oh, well, okay. I don't know why it was having difficulties there, but me not plugging in the Wi-Fi card is not related. This is curious. It's behaving like the battery's dead, which I suppose is possible. At least it's responding. Yeah, it's behaving like the battery is just flat. That's strange. Shouldn't be. I know it's my tester battery and I haven't really, like, put a good charge into it. But it shouldn't be dead like this. I don't necessarily want to charge it, so I'm just going to grab a... because I need to just verify... because I don't want to charge that thing full and then have false positives when... or false negatives when I go to try and charge the console. So here's a completely different battery. I'm going to try a different power board. When I went to lift the connector out, it seemed sticky. Possible just some flux got in there. Maybe just was a little bit of flux. Okay, let's do the other power board. It's still behaving like this. Huh. Everything is fully seated and making a good connection. Now it's not wanting to power on at all. Again. Still charging, which is, I suppose, good. That's really kind of weird behavior. Let's go for bare minimum, I guess. Yeah, nothing. And I know the button... Well, I can't say I know the button works, but I'm pretty sure this button works. I have no reason to suspect it. Let's go back to my other power board. Huh. Try the other battery again. It won't matter. I don't know what to make of this. Again, this is probably going to be... I'm kind of running out of time here, but this is definitely going to take a lot of research. Let me just see if I get continuity to U11 again. Yeah, I do. That shouldn't matter because that's just charging. But now it will be finding out sort of... I think I should just trace from the power button to the... Where was the subboard connector? I can follow the orange light right here. Blue. The blue goes through this rather interesting Q11. Q15. So it's component U6. Which I think is the power management chip. I actually don't remember. I don't think it was U3. Wait, U6? Is that what I said? Why is that U6? Because U6... all the way the hell up here. That's hella far away from the power subboard. It definitely doesn't look that great up here either. Close that so I don't bust it off. The blue light is controlled by this component? Wow. Goes through resistor 20. Is resistor 20 anywhere near here? There it is. So the blue light goes through this resistor. So if I fold the board over like this and do that Right there, and resistor 20. Where are we? That continuity on. Oh, I was doing the wrong side of the diode, I think. That's the red light. Right? Blue light's on top. That might be like common. No, it makes more sense for this side to be the ground if it's connecting to ground right there. Might just be another one of these situations where I have to scrape off whatever crap is on these. Resistor 20. Oh, it's going to the resistor 20 is the red light. Man, I can't really read the schematic, but let me bring it up. I don't know why I'm having such a hard time. So resistor 20 was going to the red light, which I don't really care. I need resistor 21, which is right above it. Probably the same problem. Should be that side of the diode. Testing 20 again, because I did get it to chirp on 20. There we go. I think my common lead just came out of my meter just a small bit. So that is successfully going to the blue light. So what about U2 or U6? That's bad. It's interesting that this has nothing to do with power management. I know some of those don't look good down there. Well, I didn't think it was premature for me to celebrate, but I think instead of following the blue light, I would need to follow where the power button shorts. What component deals with that? Because it almost seems like whatever's shorting from the power button, it's not so much a blue light issue. Testing it again, and I'm still getting nothing. And I'm still charging, yeah? Yeah, still charges. Well, I guess I'm gonna have to pull this motherboard out of the ready for deployment folder, which kind of sucks, but until I figure out what's going on, I don't know exactly what to do with it. Aside of just making it the test case again. Or not a test case, but putting it in sort of a pile of wild issues that finding the bottom of would hopefully produce some interesting knowledge. Just putting in my notes that sometimes it will turn on, sometimes it just won't. Pressing the power button right now, just nothing. So whatever kicks that component U6 to turn on the blue light. See? Oh, flash there for a second. So there's something not making a good connection. So that's just going to have to be something I look into later. I do not know. It's going to take some amount of looking around to see what exactly is going on. Yeah, like it could be just something within U3 or surrounding component, but I'm just going to have to probe that. But I think for now I'll call it good.